Hey, what's up, guys? Build the universe. So moving on with the Nakshatra series. Now we are in Rohini. Rohini, honestly, Rohini is a beautiful star. Like, I don't know a lot of ugly people who are Rohini. I really don't. I know most Rohini people are really sensual. Maybe they're not like so sexy, like in the face, but they're so sensual that they can kind of get anyone they want. So I know this doesn't prove my point, but Marilyn Monroe was a Rohini sun, and she had a beautiful fucking face. But to be honest, I think Rohini. Thank you, ATV. To be honest, I think where Rohini lied in her body was really her sensuality. She had such a heavy sensuality. And I really think this is all about Rohini. You know what? I know a lot of white people who are Rohini who love R&B, are absolutely addicted to soul music. And this star Rohini, which is in Taurus, it's such a soulful nakshatra. It endows like anyone with like vavavoom, you know. The men, you know, will have a huge sexual appetite, you know. I do notice a lot of Rohini men having big penises. They're usually either short and sexy or really tall and sexy. So, for example, like Tom Holland and what's his name, Prince. Both of those guys are really fucking sexy to me. And they're both Rohini sun. But then there's tall Rohini people. That would be if there's like some type of Jupiter aspect, something like that. So, for example, I just looked at Bill Hader's chart, and he's another yummy guy. He's a Rohini sun. He was born June 7th. And he's a tall guy. But that's because he has Jupiter conjunct his moon. So, but yeah, like I said, you know, what I was saying was, I don't know if it like gives you so much, like, it gives you kind of a peculiarity in the face. I looked at that motorcycle. I looked at him, and then he looked at me. He was probably looking at me like, fuck you. But anyway, dude, I forgot what I was saying. But anyway, oh yeah, Rohini, it makes you like really hypersexual. It gives you a really sexy body. It gives you a cute face, most definitely. But I don't think that their face is like their biggest feature, their best feature, in my opinion. With Marilyn Monroe, she was a Danishta moon. Like, Danishta, oh my goodness, models, fashion models are Danishta. What's his name? Shawn Mendes is a Danishta moon. So it's like Danishta blesses you all around, but Rohini really more so blesses you. It gives you that fertility. It gives you that abundance, more so energetically and spiritually. So I was reading like the Mariah Carey book a couple years during COVID, like 2020, and she was saying how her biggest influence was Marilyn Monroe, and she was saying that she loved Marilyn Monroe, and she said that she had such a va-va-voom, such a sensuality, that she said it was almost even soulful, you know. So I think that in the book, Mariah Carey was intuitively picking up on this Rohini energy. So what I was saying about Rohini liking R&B music or being very soulful, very, you know, it's like a very warm-bodied, hot-blooded, you know, sexually charismatic person. So my cousin, I'm glad she doesn't watch my videos, and she doesn't know she's a Rohini. But my cousin, and I hate to say this, But she's always been like horny. I remember when we were kids, like we caught her licking the screen because Aladdin was playing, and so she was trying to like kiss Aladdin. So I just like, even then it was just like so much sensuality, you know. And so yeah, so anyway, sorry, I like go all over the place. I'm sorry, I have ADD. I can't stick to one fucking point. But talking about Rohini being very soulful, loving R&B music, that's kind of a Venus thing as well. Venus is such a sensual planet, and Venus is sitting in, I mean, Rohini is sitting in Venus ruled Taurus. So there's a big appreciation for sensuality, you know? This is the third fucking motorcycle. And it's actually it was actually the first one. What the fuck are these people doing? Anyway, back to my point. Shit! Rohini likes R&B. Damn. There's a great story of Marilyn Monroe going to the club to see Ella Fitzgerald sing. Ella Fitzgerald is a big old black lady, and she is dubbed the queen of bebop. She's not queen of jazz because that's Billie Holiday. So, but she's queen of like bebop or something like that. Anyway, and she's like the bebop queen. You know. And and so Marilyn Monroe, a Rohini son, loved Ella Fitzgerald. So when she went there, no one was like there, you know. And Ella Fitzgerald, this is in the 1950s, she had to go into the back of the club for her own show, you know. And of course, Marilyn, being a very tender-hearted woman, did not like that. So Marilyn used her fame to leverage Ella Fitzgerald's career. She said to Ella Fitzgerald backstage, she's like, I loved you, I loved your voice, I love it. It's a shame, it's a travesty that you know, people aren't gonna recognize and appreciate this show as much as it should be. She's like, I'm gonna go to your show every single day so that the press can come. And she did. She went to Ella Fitzgerald's show every single night that week, and the press were all over that show because she was there in front row. And she had a lifelong friendship with Ella Fitzgerald. So this is a great example of Rohini having such a sensual soulfulness and having such a appreciation, you know. Rohini also, Claire Nakti, an amazing astrologer. She's, in my opinion, she's the best Vedic astrologer online, in my opinion. But anyway, she did a study on UFC fighters, and a lot of them were Rohini, which I think is very interesting. Rohini is ruled by the moon, so I feel like because moon waxes and wanes, moon can put anyone on a bipolar trip. You know, moon can give people mood swings. Moon is it just doesn't stay still, which is why moon likes to be in Taurus, which is why moon is exalted in Taurus, because Taurus is so stubborn and such a bull that when bad times come, your mind isn't wavering in Taurus the way it does in Scorpio. It's opposite, in detriment. So anyway, so it, you know, moon can give people temper tantrums, and so, you know, moon rules Rohini. So these Rohini people, they can be very bullish. They can be very stubborn. They can be like literally bullish. Like they can have boxy shoulders. Florence Pugh, the very beautiful, talented actress, who was the woman who played the lady from that scary movie Midsummer, and she was also in the new Timothée Chalamet version of Little Women, and she's also in the Dune movies. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of her, right? She's a Rohini, either sun or moon, and what's interesting is that she always rocks that bull piercing, nose piercing. So I think that's pretty funny. I think that's very interesting. Yeah, so that's another reason why I think that the men make such good fighters is because it's an outlet for all this like extra frustration that they might have. You know, Sun is the most masculine planet, so Sun is not so likely to blow up like that. You know, men try to be manly men. They try to like, you know, suppress their feelings, but not Moon men. Moon men let their feelings out because, you know, Moon is very feminine. Moon can be very whiny, very, you know, very like a spoiled princess. So you'll have Rohini men, honestly, kind of acting like a spoiled princess. You'll see Rohini men having temper tantrums. You'll see them having a fucking temper. You'll see them being the bull. So they can most definitely be, and the women, shit. I've seen Rohini women be bullish, like, for sure. But I don't know a lot of poor Rohini people. I'm thinking of my friend in college. He was very successful off the bat for his talent. My cousin is very, very successful. I'm thinking of Prince, who was the most successful singer. I'm thinking of Tom Holland, who's an incredibly successful actor at 25. You know, it's Venus, right? And it's Moon. Venus and Moon, they're actually, in my opinion, they're not really that close. They're not really friends. Some websites and some literature will say that Moon and Venus are friends, but I don't really think they're that friendly with each other. I think they both can have a lot in common, so they both can try to get along, but ultimately, they're on different spiritual paths. Venus is very logical, actually. Venus is very earthbound, and that makes kind of Venus a little bit demonic, but at the same time, he can actually be a little bit more righteous, because Venus Venus looks at things for what it is, which is why they can actually get depressed a lot, because Venus is very logical. It's called Manusha planet, which means it's very logical, straightforward. But then it's also ruled by the Moon, Rohini, and Moon loves luxury and stuff like that. But it's also very spiritual, and it doesn't like to stand on its own 2 feet. The Moon likes to marry rich. You know, Moon likes to create like passive income. Not really one who, you know, has to go to war and has to work hard and has to sacrifice and has to do this. They're not really about that, you know. So Moon and Venus, even though they both love luxury and pretty things, and they're both sensual, Venus is actually more mature, and Moon can be quite immature, and it can be really tough being Moon because, like I said, the mood swings. So Rohini, in some way, can kind of be like give you anxiety. You know, it can, and especially if your natal Moon and your natal Venus aren't going well together, then it can actually, yeah, it can make you a little crazy. Moon is, like I said, Moon is not, Moon is not stable. If you have your Moon in Rohini, then this will be a little bit different. You still have to look at the dignity of your Venus and Moon. So even if you have Moon, even if you have Moon in Rohini, that's actually the exaltation point from the Moon is Rohini. But that doesn't mean that you'll have great success, because if you have a Rohini Moon in the 8th house, man, you'll have dreams, bad dreams, you'll have nightmares, you'll be so unsettled, you'll have all this restless energy. It's just restless nights. You know, you'll be hyper fucking sexual. You know, so if Venus is combust, or if you know, Venus is what's bad for Venus? Venus is best in what? Fuck, I can't think right now. How many minutes am I at? 14? Okay. So the other reason I think that Venus is such a big thing, I mean Rohini, because when you think of Rohini, you know, women in Rohini will have a big ass, or they'll have big thighs, you know. And Rohini men, honestly, I see a lot of Rohini men having big dicks. When I did a video on my study on big dicks, I found that Mercury in Rohini was the #1 placement. The moon in general had a huge influence on these men, and Rohini is a moon ruled nakshatra. So, if you have a Rohini man and he's got a big old dick, then you can see why. It's because, first of all, Rohini itself is the star Albadine, and it's like 50 times the size of the sun. It's a huge fucking star. And in mythology, it's tied to kind of like this like abundance. Like you can think of kind of the Garden of Eden, where you can think of like this wonderfully plush garden that grows and grows and grows and grows. And it's funny because like my friend has a really big dick, and he's Rohini moon, and before he like showed me his dick, he was like, yeah, my dick just grows and grows and grows. I was like, okay. But then he showed me, I was like, shit, you're right. It really does grow and grow. So you'll get fat women. You'll get men with big dicks or big thighs, big booty, who are really tall. You'll get Rohini natives who are super horny. They have big appetites, big sexual appetites. Or they'll just be fat in general. They make lots of money. They make good money. They like to create a really, really sensual household. But there's just like I said, there's those fucking mood swings, man. Fucking mood swings, dog. I think that's okay. Yeah, I don't really want to keep digging, keep trying to think of stuff to say. You know why? Because like, as soon as I end this video, I'm going to think of like 10 more things I missed. Anyway, love you, bye.